Hello everybody, we've got a good old Bentley here today. I showed it in one of my videos a couple of years ago. I think you can already guess what this video will be about. Approximately such cars are sold in the neighborhood of 1,000,000 and penny rubles. Sell long, sell years, but now I will show you why they do not buy them. Well, and why actually do not buy them. But first of all, it is the condition. The second question is the mileage. The third question, or rather, it is not a question, it is already a statement, is that very expensive maintenance of this car very much cheapens it. Well, and naturally, if suddenly already want to, you must first have money for repair, and always they should be an eon amount to be in reserve well, and accordingly, it is better to overpay when buying. That is, it is better to buy in better condition than to raise this car from the knees, because there is such a moment that it may just not work out. But basically, I'm showing one of these examples, but this car is not for sale. No one bought it. It is just a person has a very many years. The car is literally a working car. And accordingly, the person maintains it just so that it was in good condition in terms of that he drove. About the appearance of the speech here especially does not go, because in 2005, Bentley to invest in such a state of the car, to invest in the appearance, well, there is simply no sense. So as far as the technique is concerned, everything is done as far as the problems go, but it's a very interesting specimen. It's interesting to look at from the point of view of a car service. And exactly the most correct assessment is when you look at the car from the elevator, even on the body. When you look at it on the elevator like this from the bottom up, very many flaws are visible. Because when the car is on the ground and you look from top to bottom, believe me, very little is noticed. Although, for example, I have been doing it myself for many years, but it is really in such a condition in which the car is standing now, it is the best and most favorable point for its inspection. Introductory data, 2005. American, in Russia since 2008. Mileage already, I think, to 300,000. The speedometer says 200 something, but in fact, I think that in one video will not fit. I'll show you later in the second one. From the interior, for all intents and purposes, I think 300 is definitely in there. Let's have a look. At the moment, the car has come to us with two problems. It's the engine mounts. The vibration is terrible. The mounts are in the process of being fitted. And the second problem is a broken, cracked knuckle. In fact, it is not a standard story, but apparently some parts are so tired that it is impossible to do anything with it without an accident. But nevertheless, now I will show you a little later. It's about the body. It rots or does not rot, rusts or does not rust. The body is galvanized, but if the car was in some alterations, you understand, everything else is a matter of time. Here I am just showing you now, but this is the pedal is painted like this. In general, now you have seen a lot of defects on the body. They're not age defects, they're basically the defects of a badly made car. But we'll get to the suspension a little bit later on. You will get a lot of information from this video. If you have any hope of buying a good Bentley, don't waste your time, don't waste your money. It's impossible. So you need to evaluate everything soberly. But most likely, it is better to buy a car of another brand. First of all, as I have already said, maintenance. The car, which is new, cost more than $200,000. For the 100th time, I repeat that maintenance, even if you use Chinese surrogate parts, maintenance will still be expensive. Chinese surrogates fail very quickly. Just the other day, I was talking to a man. he changed the stabilizer. This is the kind he fleinskirred. The stabilizer failed after 2 months. Fakes also cost money nowadays at the current prices. So the best option is just not to buy such a car. Nerves and your finances, I definitely think you will thank you for it. But now let me show you how this car looks like from below. In general, a very instructive story, but I think that still you should try to learn from the mistakes of others, and if you want to buy something, it is better, of course, very carefully and well gather information, then make a decision to look or not to look. Again, if something like this look, be sure to take to a specialized place, do not be lazy. Spend money against the background of future troubles and problems. Trust me, it's pennies. So now he's showing this unit, this shock absorber. Shock absorbers also fail. Chinese ones aren't cheap either. Who is interested? Look at Avito. There is a lot of stuff for sale on this topic. It seems that Bentley is like Toyota Camry, and they are sold as much as Toyota. In fact, I'll probably say that. It feels like they're being stolen as much as Toyota, but it's probably simpler than that. They don't even have to be stolen. Some of them are just scrapped because they can't be kept. But you see, all these elements that have problems here, the same fenders. For each fender liner, even for a Chinese one, I think you'll give a $5. For the original one, you will give 15,000 rubles. It consists, for example, of 2 parts already 30. Nothing has not happened yet, but I have already given 30,000 rubles. But so it is here with all the parts. Now I will show you what I stated a little earlier about the broken steering knuckle. By the way, about the shock absorbers. The thing is not so brittle, as for example at one time, there with the Range Rover, very many claims there was a Mercedes. Here it is against the background of the above-mentioned brands. Well, average brakes maybe even less. But on the other hand, there are also fewer of these cars, so my statistics may not be particularly accurate. This is some American crap. It's on a Range Rover. It was some sort of fancy Dodger in 2008. I've had one of these on a Bentley like this. People I know got it from America, just like this car. It belonged to some famous basketball player there. I can't remember exactly who, but basically, it was the same story. And the salesman was very proud of this whole... I don't know what to call it, but he was proud of all this nonsense. That it was worth a lot of money. But back then, I remember, we didn't overpay for it, but we haggled and people responded to our offer and sold us the car. Well, that's exactly what I was telling you about. Look, right here you see, the ear has burst. I mean, a mileage of 200,000, I think, with a breakdown like this is probably unlikely, right? In general, your opinion, what kind of mileage can be here on this car? But my prediction is 300 in Moscow. Accordingly, if there was a car in the region, it would look much better. By the way, you see this broken fender and a lot of dirt under it. Accordingly, all this dirt gets on some assemblies and units naturally, which reduces their service life. Well, it would seem that the speed is not affected by the fender liner, but one thing pulls another, and so on and so forth. The steering rack, you see, there's something wrong with it as well, because it's on the other side as well. It definitely has leaks. It's not fogging. It's leaks, as you can see, traces of fresh oil, right there where the actuators are, right there too. You see, there's some problems too. I mean, if you start eliminating all this now, I think you can even... Well, this is a topic for bloggers. In general, if you buy such a car for 1,000,000 rubles and fix it on average and calculate how much money you spend on it, but do not fix it at the official, but fix it, for example, in some service in an independent, it seems to me that the purchase amount will be much less than the amount spent on repairs. So in general, I think you have already understood the summary and the final result and conclusion in this video. But here I will repeat once again. This car is the owner's. No one is selling it. Well, and actually, When the person bought it, it was a 3-year-old expensive Bentley in general. In 2005, the car is now 2023. Here count. How much money could eat this car? I think you could even do that and make a video about it. Sort of annual maintenance and average breakdowns. And multiply that by about 15 years. So I think the statistics are probably going to be very, very depressing. Although if you take a Mercedes Maybach, the statistics are probably even more depressing. But, by the way, there is a Mercedes of my acquaintances. And if I have time, I'll try and film it for you too. There's a problem with the engine. There's a problem with the suspension. Although the car is 10 years younger than this one. And actually, it's really very, very expensive there too. And I think that there is also such a controversial moment there, whether it is worth to restore it in the present time or not. They are thinking about it now. Well, and I think that it is probably worthwhile for me personally to cover this topic, because Mercedes Maybach, there are a lot of them now. They are now sold cheaper even than the S-Class, because these cars are mainly serviced by some legal entities, but private citizens do not buy them, so their demand is extremely low, to put it mildly. But let's get back to our Bentley. Here we show the rear end, the rear suspension. It's actually dry here. It's very dirty, but it's really dry. That's a very good sign. But what you've seen at the front, I think that's enough for about 5 years of work for the average Russian, and while you're earning that money, inflation will probably eat it up, and you won't be able to fix this Bentley anyway. Anyway, we're coming to the end of our event. Let's make, as usual, conclusions. The conclusion is this: you shouldn't buy one if you're not sure of yourself. Even if you are sure of yourself, take this car to knowledgeable people. Watch similar videos. Gather information before you do anything. Google prices, and you'll be happy. At this point, I think it's time to say goodbye. I'm gonna go to work. By the way, you can write if there are any Bentley problems you are interested in separately. I'll try to answer as much as I can. And, as always, have a good view. I've got to get back to work. Also, good shopping everyone, and good mood as well. Bye everybody.